Well. It's almost that time of the year, best time of the year. The NFL season about to be underway very soon. We're about 2-ish weeks away from the first kickoff against the Ravens and the Chiefs. And in this video, I wanted to just go over my final division picks. I'm going to be ranking them in order where I think they'll finish in the division. I'm going to cover all 8 divisions, AFC and NFC. So I'm excited for this one. Let's just get right into it, because I got a lot to cover, and we're going to go to the AFC East here. And this is a division where I think it's going to be a lot more competitive than people think at this point. And I got to go with the Bills number one. You have Josh Allen. I know there's questions at the receiving core, and I know defensively, Milano, one of their better defensive guys, is out now. But at the same time, this is still, when you have Josh Allen as the quarterback, the Bills have won the division, I think, 4 years in a row now at this point. I have no choice but to choose them. So they're going to be number one in the AFC East. Number two, I wanted to go with the Jets over the Dolphins. And a lot of people here are going to have the Dolphins. And I have the Jets too, because I think if you look at the roster, defensively, really sound. Defensive head coach. Defense has been fine the past couple of years for them. Like, I think they won 7 games last year with a pretty garbage quarterback. And I think that with Aaron Rodgers, if he can just be decent with that offensive weapons, you have Breece Hall, you have Garrett Wilson, who is probably a top 10 wide receiver just with the production he's done without even really having a quarterback. So if Rodgers can stay healthy, I see no reason why the Jets can't be second in this division, compete for first in it, and sneak into the wild card spot. I see no reason why not. 3, I got the Dolphins, and I think a lot of this is that I have them 3 is, I don't know how high I am on Tua. I think he's a capable quarterback for sure, but what worries me is if there is that Tyreek Hill injury, if there is that Jalen Waddle, he's not going to be able to overcome that. And defensively, they lost a lot of guys, so I have no choice but to put them at 3. Then for the Patriots, this could be the worst team in the NFL next year. The Patriots have gotten to a weird spot where Bill Belichick didn't draft well towards the end, and now you just don't really have an identity in New England, and you're going to be starting either Jacoby Brissett or the work in progress of Drake May. So it could be a mess there. They traded Judon, their best player probably they had left. So I'm putting them at 4. Moving on to the AFC West. And number 1, pretty obvious choice is going to be the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, just ridiculous end of the season last year. They even won it last year. I think that they might have a bet. I think they went 11-6 last year. I think this could be like a 12-13 win season for them. Defensively, they got a lot of guys. I think it was I don't think people talk about how good their defense is. Offensively, they added Xavier Worthy, who I think he's not going to be anywhere near as good as Tyreek Hill, but he's going to kind of fit into that role that Tyreek Hill was. So I think you put that all together. Rashee Rice is going to be better this year. They still have Travis Kelce, Pacheco. They're going to be number 1. Number 2, I have the Chargers. And the reason I have them is because they were in such a bad spot the previous 2 years with their head coach. They had a bad head coach, one of the worst that I've seen in the decade. And they still got to the playoffs 2 years ago. And if you look at what they have on the surface, you have a quarterback that probably should have top 5 praises in Justin Herbert, top 10 maybe. He's coming off an injury, but still a really solid quarterback. Easily a franchise guy already put in place. And you have defensive pieces as well. They have their Bosa. And I just think with Jim Harbaugh coming into this system, there's no way that they don't run the table a little bit. Blake Corum, J.K. Dobbins is another guy to watch out for on this team that they got. I think he's going to get a lot of touches. People forget J.K. Dobbins. He obviously has had a lot of injuries with the Ravens, and they had to let him go or whatever. But I think that if he stays healthy and he's in a Harbaugh system. And you also have to remember, a Harbaugh-led team has never been bad in the NFL. First year in with the 49ers, got him the first seed. First year. So that's why I have to put him at 2. 3, I'm going to put the Broncos, and I think they compete for that 2 spot as well, because I think Bo Nix, who they named the starting quarterback like a day ago, I think he's got the potential to be a guy. I think he could be a player, like a long-time franchise quarterback. You have the head coach put in place of Sean Payton. I don't hate the receiving core of like Tim Patrick, Sutton. I think that's pretty good defensively. Patrick Surtain is out there. I think there's a few things that they could adjust. Defensively, I think there are some holes. And I think offensively, there's a few limitations. You do have a rookie quarterback at the same time. But I like the Broncos at 3. And then for the Raiders, Pierce, as a head coach, is a guy that I think that was the right hire. But they don't have a quarterback. You're at a point in this league right now where you have to at least have somebody capable of being able to do something. And they just don't. So they're going to be a bottom team in the league this year. Devontae Adams can't do it alone. They do have a good defense. I'll be able to give them that. Their defense is pretty solid. Crosby, really good defensive player that they have, but I just don't see much more outside of that. I got to put him 4. Going on to the AFC North, which I think is going to be the most competitive division in football. And number 1, I have the Bengals. And this could easily be the Ravens. This could easily be 3 of these teams, I think. But the reason I have the Bengals number 1 is with Joe Burrow. If Joe Burrow stays healthy, they're going to run the table. They always have with him healthy. I have strong belief that with Burrow healthy, people are talking about the Chase contract. They're going to get their guy. He's gonna come to a deal. People forget their defense isn't as bad as people think. And it's a really solid team, in my opinion. And that's why I think they have a shot to go to the Super Bowl, because we've seen it before. They went toe-to-toe with the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game, and they've won. One of the few and only teams to do so. So that's why I have to put them there in that regard. After that, you go to the Ravens, a team that I think defensively they took a step back. Offense should be the same. Firepower should be the exact same thing. Defense, I think they're going to take a step back this year. That's why I have them at 2. But Lamar Jackson, his winning percentage and what he's done in the games that he started in the regular season have been ridiculous. But I just think the Bengals might slowly edge them out this year. 3, I got the Browns, and this is a team that will compete for the wild card spot for sure. If Deshaun Watson plays up to, what he needs to be, or half of what he did in that 2020 season when he led the league in passing, they're going to be a really tough team to beat. That the defense that they have there, Myles Garrett, one of the best players in the NFL, just without positions, one of the best players in the NFL. So you have that, and you just have a caveat of other things that they have that are good on that roster, where you have Denzel Ward at corner, and you have, I like Njoku, the tight end, Amari Cooper, Nick Chubb, we'll see what he is after the injury, and the O-line's always solid. So I think that could be a wild card team right there. And I have the Steelers at 4, and like I said, I'm never worried about the defense with the Steelers ever. Never worried about the defense. What scares me is this quarterback situation. I don't know what Russell Wilson is anymore, and Fields, the problem that I'm starting to have with Fields, I think he holds the ball too long for that O-line. That O-line's not good enough for him to be holding the ball that long. I think that could be issues. You can't win, especially in a division like this, you cannot win a lot of games in the National Football League without a capable quarterback. And I don't know if they have one. So that's why I'm going to put them at 4 for now. Could I see them making a run up to 2 or 3 if everything goes right? For sure. AFC South. Texans are going to be my number 1. And the reason that I have them there is I think Stroud, with the addition of Diggs, and you have Mixon now in the backfield, that's going to make them just a really tough team to beat. And I think this is, honestly, in my opinion, one of the weaker divisions. So I think they can get through there, and I think it's going to be a good year, too, for Stroud. And people forget that Tank Dell got hurt halfway through that year, and he's going to be available now. So that offense could get scary. It could be a team that could have Super Bowl chances, at least AFC Championship chances. To the Jacksonville Jaguars, this is going to be another team competing for a wild card spot. I like Trevor Lawrence. He had a lot of injuries last year. I think the guy can play, but obviously there's been pushback on certain situations. ETN is a really great back. You have guys like Josh Allen on the defensive side. I think it's a solid roster. I just don't know if they're better than Houston. Tennessee's 3 for me, and this was really tough between them and the Colts, but I have Tennessee at 3 just because of you got a lot of weapons that you put on this team. Tony Pollard, you had DeAndre Hopkins. Just a lot of weapons were shifted over to this roster to the point where I think that they could be competitive if things go right. New head coach, we don't know what he is. Colts 4, I like Shane Steichen. The reason I have them here, I don't know what Richardson will be health-wise. If Anthony Richardson, he's played what? He played 2 games, got hurt in both. When there are that big of signs of injury proneness, it scares me, and I don't think that they can overcome losing him early in the year, and that's why I have them at 4. Going to transition over to the NFC now. The NFC East, very interesting division where I have the Eagles winning. And I think that addition of Saquon Barkley is huge for him. Just the way that Sirianni runs his offense, I think that that's a huge addition. And I think that's one that's going to really pay a lot of dividends to them in the future. Jalen Hurts, he's got an interception issue for sure. Like that's without question. But at the same time, still a good quarterback. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, you have guys on offense. Defense, they really addressed that in the draft as well. So I think that they're going to win this division. I have the Cowboys at 2 for now, but they're starting more and more to look like a mess. They've won 12 games the previous 3 years. That's 36 regular season wins in the past 3 years. I get it. But you have these contract issues with CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons, Dak. It's becoming a bit of a circus there. And they made pretty much no offseason moves other than getting Zeke Elliott. So my hands are tied. I have to put them at 2. And then if we go to 3, the reason I have Washington there, I think Jaden Daniels, if he stays healthy, could have a ridiculous season. Now, they got rid of I believe Dotson today. They traded Dotson today, which I didn't love. But if they're trading him, there's obviously something internal that we don't know about. But you have Terry McLaurin, who's a really solid wide receiver. And Eckler, he's not as good as he was, but he's in the backfield with them. I think this could be the surprise team in the NFL this year. Watch out for them. And then the Giants, I'm just so out on Daniel Jones. I think they got a great pass rush. I like Neighbors. I think there's a lot of things that I like about them, but there's more things that I dislike. Like Daniel Jones cannot lead this team anywhere without a great O-line and a really solid run game. And the run game is gone now because you don't have Saquon Barkley. And I think this is the year where it completely implodes, which if it hasn't already, I don't know how you paid him money, but I think this is the year it completely implodes for them. People get fired. Maybe the GM. We'll see. And if the NFC West, I'm going to take the 49ers. And the big reason why I'm taking the 49ers is I don't care about the Ayuk. I think Ayuk's going to be back for them. They're going to get Trent Will. They're going to get all their guys back. Defensively, this is a stacked roster. Bosa, just guy after guy after guy. And I just think that without question they're the best team in the NFC West, maybe even the NFC. Rams at 2. Watch out for the Rams, though. They could have a killer year this year. If Stafford stays healthy, you have him, Puka Nacua merged. People forget about Cooper Kupp. He had an injury-prone season last year. People forget about him. Don't forget about him. And he's building the defense. Sean McVay is great with young guys. That's why I got to put them at 2. 3, I have Seattle. I think Geno can get them to like that 7-8 game stretch. I don't think this is a playoff team. I like Kenneth Walker. I like Jackson Smith and Jigba. DK, obviously. Lockett's getting a bit older for my liking. Defensively, they hit on a lot of draft picks. So I like this roster. I just don't think Geno, with how good the NFL is and with how much better the NFC is getting, I don't think that they're able to get more than 7 or 8 games. Then the Cardinals, a lot of this is they were really bad last year, and I know Kyler Murray's supposed to be healthy, but I just really don't know with him. I like Marvin Harrison Jr. is probably going to light it up this year. When I'm doing this roster to roster, I just don't think they're good enough. I don't think they're better than Seattle today. That's the biggest thing this came up with me. I looked at the schedules, but then I really just said, like, when I was thinking about 3 and 4 here, I said, are they better than Seattle roster wise? And the answer is no. So I had to put them there. And then we have the NFC North becoming a really competitive division, by the way. And I took Green Bay number 1. Big reason why I took Green Bay number 1 is if you look at late season, they beat the Lions, who had a great year. And I think Jordan Love, he's got so many options to throw to, and he could have a dark horse MVP season. I'm not saying he's going to by any stretch, but you have Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Wicks. You have all these guys, and the Josh Jacobs edition. People don't understand how big that is. The Josh Jacobs edition is huge. So that's why I'm putting them at number 1. Number 2, the Lions, who are going to have another great year. They're in the postseason, have a shot to win this, go to and win the Super Bowl. Like I said, I like Jared Goff. I like the culture that Campbell's brought up within there. I think it's great. And that's why I got them. Like I said, them and the Packers, it's nitpicky because I think both of them are going to have boom years, like wildly successful years. So that's why I put them there. And then if we go next to the Vikings, who I have at 4, I just think that with Sam Darnold being your quarterback the entire year, there's a lot of limitations that you have. A lot of limitations. I just don't think that you can get over that. So that's why I have them there. And then to wrap this all up, the NFC South. And I have the Falcons number 1. I think Kirk Cousins was a great move to be put there. And Bijan Robinson should pop this year. We've been waiting for the big pop from Drake London and Kyle Pitts. I think the guy that can make that happen is Kirk Cousins for sure. I think that if I were to see it from that way, I think they pop this year. And defensively, you have a decent roster defensively, but the offense is where this is going to shine. And this is probably the weakest division in football as well. So they have that going for them too. 2 is going to be the Buccaneers. Don't think it's a playoff team, but you have Baker, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. They got there last time. The defense is pretty solid. I think Baker's a much better player than he was in Cleveland, a lot more mature, but I just think they slowly miss out. The Saints could have a lot of issues this year. I think I'm not the biggest Dennis Allen guy. I don't love the head coach. I think I like Olave. I'm out on Carr. He's a poor man's Kirk Cousins. It's not a guy that you want on your roster if you want to win a title. So that's why I have them at 3. And then Panthers, I think the Bryce Young thing is going to blow up this year. I like the Deontay Johnson move that they have there. They got another receiver in the draft. Defensively, they lost Brian Burns. I just don't like this roster. I think this is the year that I don't think they're the worst team in the NFL, but I think they're very bad, and I think Bryce Young is toast after this year. That's my predictions. Let me know what you think. Let me know who you have in all these spots.